Hey guys, how's it going? Comparing here. So today I want to talk about my impressions of Hearthstone Arena now that the Grand Tournament has been out and it has changed it up a little bit. Now, usually with Arena, things don't change too much, and we've noticed that already, but they do change over time. So while my first impression that I'll basically relay to you guys here might be correct right now, before the next expansion, things might actually change in Arena, but probably not too much. So going into the Grand Tournament, going into TGT, I assumed that the previous very tempo-driven metagame in Arena will continue because there isn't really much to take away the tempo. While cards like heals are being introduced, while slow, strong creatures are being introduced, yes, you are more likely to draft a slower deck that has high-quality cards. Well, things like board clears are not really being introduced, so that was really the dominant factor to why it's very hard to come back when you're behind on tempo in Arena. That part didn't really change, not in the board clear way, but there are a few things that actually change that dynamic a little bit. Arena did, in fact, become a bit slower. And let's talk about that. So, the main dominant class in Arena for a very long time has been Mage. And whenever you look at Mage in Arena, it's a very strong class because of the super powerful common cards like Flame Strike, like Fireball, like many others, like even Water Elemental is a really big deal. It's just so consistent that you get these good cards, and they are just so powerful in that type of gameplay. The Mage was such a strong class that you could actually just draft a tempo deck, and if you had like one flame strike in, you could recover from a bad situation in late game just because of that one card. And while that still is possible, it's a bit less consistent than some of the other decks. Now, the overall deck quality in Arena has gone up considerably because TGT, while it hasn't really done much for constructed play, in fact, most decks in constructed are still exactly the same as they were before the expansion. In Arena, it's a lot different because cards with Inspire effects are often very powerful because they can be played as a tempo card if you're desperate, or they can double up as a late game drop because they can generate such considerable value over time. So it makes it so you almost always have some decent amount of late game in a deck, rather through the better options of late game creatures, or on the other hand, through drafting mid-range Inspire cards that double up for the same purpose. So classes that have good class Inspire cards really shifted up, especially if they were common. So to no surprise, Paladin got a pretty big boost. But more importantly, Mage really took a big hit. There are basically no great cards that were introduced to the Mage arsenal, so what they basically got is they got another saturation of their already good cards. So Mage got a bit worse, and classes like really Paladin, I think, gained the most. I actually think Paladin is the new best class in Arena, and if you have played Arena since TGT, you may have some kind of hint towards this because you do play a lot of Paladins. I actually think overall through the Grand Tournament Arena runs, I've played against more Paladins than any other class. And it's usually the class that you play against that really dictates what is the most powerful one, because it's not that people pick Paladin or people pick Mage every time. It's that the classes that are really strong stay in the arena cycle more than the other ones that are weaker on average. So it does seem like Paladin is the strongest one. I did kind of predict this because I thought it would still be a tempo game, but it's actually Paladins that are kind of leading that still, and they're kind of countering the game up a little bit. Paladin is a tempo class. It's still a tempo class after TGT, but they can sometimes push to the late game, and often their tempo runs are not as aggressive as some of the other decks. So in the past, you'd run things like Tempo Mage. All you have to do is a little bit of damage at the start, and you could clean up with Fireballs. Or you could run like a Tempo-ish Rogue, again, clean up with a weapon, or like Eviscerates or something like that. Paladin doesn't really have that type of finisher, but Paladin is the dominant class for like the zoo type of tempo-ish board control at the start of the game. And cards that have really helped towards this, they got a new weapon with the Argent Lance. It's not a great weapon, but it's another weapon, so you can more consistently get a weapon in Arena as a Paladin. and that is just very important because it allows you to trump the early game of your opponent. You have Murloc Knight, which is basically the new hero of Arena. It's like one of the craziest cards there. Constructed, if it stays out for one turn and you use the Inspire effect even once, it's such a big deal. You basically can't lose that game. And in Arena, it's even better because you can just play it for tempo on turn 4. Removal is still a pretty premium type of card to get in Arena, so your Murloc Knight might not actually die if you just play him by itself against an empty board on turn 4. And if you do that and it doesn't die, well, you just won the game. Congratulations. So that's a pretty interesting dynamic because that card is good in that situation and it's really good in the late game situation as well. It allows Paladin a lot of flexibility. It's a common card. It allows Paladin a lot of consistency. And another really big winner is the Seal of Champions. Seal of Champions is considered about as good as Kings by most people, but I think it's considerably better. Kings is generally like a good card overall, but really it shines against your bad matchup, which is basically Mage. So Seal of Champions does just a better job. You usually use Kings to kill one of the Mage's controlling creatures. It's usually like a water elemental. You'd Kings like a 2/3 creature or whatever and kill a water elemental, and then you can't attack next turn. But with Seal of Champions, you can attack next turn. You basically take about the same amount of damage. So when used for that purpose, Seal of Champions is strictly better, and I think I just really like it a lot more. I feel like Paladins, they're just not aggressive enough to push the tempo game, but no other class can really out-tempo them. No other class can really board control them in the early game on average. So that's what makes it really interesting. The fact that Paladin is so strong, but it's not aggressive enough, it actually slows down the entire Arena game. In terms of the other big picture type of ideas, it seems like because there's so many Paladins, and there's also a lot of Mages, because Mage has traditionally been such a good class, there's a polarizing effect on some of these decks that have board clears. In the past, you could just play Mage, not have board clears, tempo out your opponents, just have very good cards. It's not really the case anymore, because you can't compete with some of these other classes for early game board control, like Paladins. You basically need to have cards like Flame Strike or other similar board clears. So whenever you're at like 7 wins, whenever you're at like 8, 9, or 10, or 11 wins, and you're playing against a Mage, I am telling you guys, 100% of the time they will have a board clear in their deck, or 2, or 3, or 4, or more than that. Because that's the only way that they make it to that amount of wins. And for the same reason, it's very important that when you play Mage, if you plan to do well, you realize this, and you prioritize these board clears maybe more than Arena websites or that kind of stuff may suggest. In terms of the overall game, the impact of the new neutral creatures has been very nice. It just added that extra element of consistency. Players are drafting slightly slower decks, and they're able to do so with higher card quality. You will be like, man, this guy's deck is crazy, like after every game, because again, the average deck in Arena has gone up quite a bit. This is also seen by the fact that the new best neutral card, it actually used to be the Piloted Shredder. It is no longer the Piloted Shredder. It is the North Sea Kraken, however it is. Probably some of you guys didn't expect that, but in Arena, cards like Force Tank Max are pretty good because they're just a really big creature, and it trades favorably with your opponent's big creatures. So North Sea Kraken does that already. Like, it'll kill a Boulder Fist Ogre, or it'll kill some of those annoying taunts with low attack and high health. And also the Battle Cry guarantees value. So it's kind of like a 2-for-1, 3-for-1, maybe 4-for-1 type of card. And it's just really solid. It has an immediate effect. Very powerful card. And keep that in mind. You want the North Sea Krakens. You want just the really powerful cards. And you can afford, these days, to have a few more late game cards, but you absolutely need to pick every single board clear. You need to if you want to survive in Arena. So those are my tips. That's kind of what I noticed. I hope it leads you guys to maybe some better results. And to leave you guys off, I want to show you guys the most amazing Arena game that I've experienced so far in TGT. I haven't really done that many Arena runs. I've mostly focused on Constructed so I could better understand the cards, because understanding cards that are, rare, epic, or legendary, you don't really get that understanding from Arena because you don't draft them frequently enough. So my arena experience is pretty limited, but I think my understanding and observations are pretty accurate, and I think they will serve you guys in maybe producing an extra few wins or two. So hope you guys liked it, hope you guys enjoyed it. Check out the clip, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. It's a pretty good flexible hand again. I like it. The last guy with a $5 club wound up arrested for child pornography. Alright, we're not talking about Mr. Subway himself. I actually heard about that, and I thought it was the most amazing thing ever. How they trained dogs to sniff out electrical devices, and they found like a USB key that incriminated him. Isn't that fucking insane? Oh god, this is horrifyingly bad right now. Oh, goodbye, Fairy Dragon. Doggy time is right.
Reporting for duty.
Alright, Broseph, you better not truce over me, because then I'm going to be real upset. No, kings would also make me very upset. Kings will make me less upset. Damn. We can clear. And then he plays a 5-drop and we get pretty fucked up though. It's probably not worth it. If he had kings, he would have played it on that. Even if he had Seal of Champions, he would have played on the other one. Don't you get +1 attacks per part? Oh my god.
Reporting for duty.
That fucking happened, dude. Ice Rager. Seriously? Alright, let's think about this. I think the best play is just the Watcher. Yeah, I get an MC Tech, but I mean, I'm probably gonna get that off anyway, and it's just not a very good one. You don't really have to be that crazy with MC Tech against the Paladin.
Reporting for duty.
You're in trouble now.
Coghammer is pretty strong, but again, it doesn't really accomplish much. Yeah, I could just swap to kill it. Again, it's not a big deal at all. Oh crap, that's that seal of whatever, right? That's where I get fucked up. Oh man. Almost. Oh, he's just going face? No. No, not going face. We can just swap him if we don't get it, so I think this is fine.
TC-130. Mental dislocator.
Wow, oh, I just kind of lost the game there.
You love my new recipe. I fight dirty.
We're gonna have to take a lot of damage to win this game. But he didn't go face last turn, so he probably doesn't have a finisher. Fingers crossed. My god. That's literally the greatest hellfire I've ever had.
I fight dirty. Power flows. Job's done.
Okay. I mean, we probably won't win the game, but this is the closest we could ever come to winning. Wow, that really sucks. Okay. I don't think we should try tapping this turn, because even if we tap, we can't play what we get. Again, I don't think he has any damage, because he would have just played it out and went face.
Your mother was a Murloc!
Greetings from beyond the grave.
Engaging TC-130. Mental dislocator.
Oh, that's pretty rough. I don't know what I can get here. I'm gonna have to get a taunt. Oh. Okay, well, we didn't get a taunt. Alright, well, we can still get a taunt. Okay. Hashtag believe. Alright, now he really doesn't have any damage, so we should just protect Mal'Ganis here. I don't think I even die to Consecrate, because the damage happens simultaneously, so I still have immune until he's off the board. Oh my god, that was very tasty. Num 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 num. Gimme, gimme.